Hello, welcome to a GMAT quantitative question explained. Today, we're going to explain a volume question. So the question goes, tanks A and B are each in the shape of a right circular cylinder. The interior of tank A has a height of 10 meters and a circumference of 8 meters. And the interior of tank B has a height of 8 meters and a circumference of 10 meters. And the question then asks, the capacity of tank A is what percent of the capacity of tank B? You have a few options here, 75%, 80%, 100%, 120%, and 150%. Now, as with pretty much all questions, you want to write down what the question gives you. So you have here tanks A, and we're told there's a tanks B. Now for tank A, you have a height, so I'm going to put height H equals 10 meters, and it's a circumference of 8, so that's going to be C equals 8. And for B, similarly, you have a height of 8 meters, and a circumference of 10 meters. Apologies about that. And then once you have written down what the question gives you, you want to figure out what the question is asking. The question is asking capacity of tank A is what percent of the capacity of tank B. What that's asking is really capacity of A as a percent, or in cases similarly as a fraction of tank B. So as a percent will be a capacity of B. So this is what the question is asking you. You're trying to figure out capacity of A divided by capacity of B. Now, capacity in this case just means volume, and the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. So what we're trying to find essentially is pi r squared h of A divided by pi r squared h of B. Now we look at this formula, we ask ourselves what do we know and what do we need to find out. So first of all, we have pi. Pi is not a problem. That is something we know, 3.14. That's a known value. R, we haven't been given the R value, so that is going to be a question mark for now. And H, we do know H because the question tells us the H for A and B as 10 and 8. So we do know that this value is given. So the only thing we need to find out is R. Now, going backwards, we'll go back and see what the question has given us. The question has given us R, circumference. Now, if you remember back from school, you should be able to remember that you can find a radius of a circle from the circumference, because the circumference equals to pi r. So if we start with the A, so if we start with circumference of A, so I'm going to subscript A to denote that this is the circumference of A. Now this is going to be 2 pi r, which also is, in this case, 8. So we have 2 pi r equals 8. Basic equation solving, divide both sides by 2. We have left with pi r on the left side. A divided by 2 is 4. Divide both sides by pi, we have 4 over pi equals r. And again, I'm going to put r a with a subscript to denote that this is the radius of tank A. We're going to do the same thing for the circumference of B. So circumference of B, same thing, equals 2 pi r. In this case, it does not equal 8. In this case, for tank B, the circumference of 10. So we have 2 pi r equals 10. Divide both sides by 2 gives us pi r equals 5. Radius of B equals 5 over pi. Right, we have now found the radius. We can now find the volume of both A and B. So first, let's start with the volume of A. So I'm going to again denote V with the subscript of A to denote this is the volume of A. Volume of A is pi r squared h equals pi. We're not going to write out pi because we can leave it as pi. It will makes life easier for most calculations like this. R squared, so the radius of A is 4 over pi, so that's 4 over pi squared times by h. In this case, h is 10. We'll do some calculations here. So you have pi times 4 over pi squared is 16 over pi squared times by 10. Quick equation solving, 16 times 10 is 160. Pi times 1 over pi squared will just be 1 over pi. If this step is confusing or you're not familiar with it, let me down in the comments below. I am happy to do another video to go through how to solve equations, do fractions, etc. if needs be. Now we're going to do the same thing for volume B. Again, volume B is pi r squared h, except we're now using different r and different h's. We have pi, again, same as before, we're not going to write it out. We're just going to leave it as pi over radius of B. In this case, it's 5 over pi. So 5 over pi squared times by h. In this case, the height is 8. Again, same thing as before. We have pi times 5 over pi squared, which is 25 over pi squared times by 8. Right. Same thing as before. 25 by 8 gives you 200. Times by pi divided by pi squared gives you just divided by pi. So we now have the volume of A and volume of B. We now just need to put it back into this equation that we started off with to find the answer. So capacity of A divided by capacity of B, volume, in other words, volume of A divided by volume of B, will gives us, let's do capacity of A divided by capacity of B gives us 160 over pi divided by capacity of B. We worked out as 200 over pi. Now you'll quickly notice that the 2 pi's will cancel out, so we're left with just 160 over 200. Now you could do some reduction, so you can divide by side, but you can take the fraction down. So you can divide top and bottom by 10 to get 16 over 20, which is 4 over 5, which is 80%. Therefore, the answer to this question would be 80%. And we're done. Thank you very much for listening to this video. If you have any comments, please leave it down below. Feel free to subscribe for any more explanations. Thank you.